This is part of my vlog where I introduce myself and the intention of my channel. And so one of those things, you know, everybody's always like, oh, welcome to or welcome back. I probably could have done that without the eye rolling. But so I have renamed my vlog years ago, back when I started training, or back when I started fighting after I started training. Clearly, one comes before the other, hopefully. One of my friends, or actually a couple of my friends at my knit night that I went to, got me a shirt printed up that said "Knitter by day, cage fighter by night." And so when I was thinking about renaming my vlog, I'm like, what should I call it? And then I was like, oh, duh, I already have a name. So I knit sporadically throughout the day, and I typically train during the morning. Knitter by day, cage fighter by night is still what I want to go with for the name of my channel. And it's less clunkier than knitting and MMA in Arizona. And this is a nice throwback to when I first started years and years ago. So first little bit about my introduction is my name is Beth. And so a little bit of history about me. As I started knitting when I was 9 years old, my granddad, Leslie, was the absolute best man that I've ever known. And so when he died, I was like super, super sad. And my Nana was like, well, you can't sit around crying. Even though I do wonder when she cried about it. And so she taught me how to knit. And she was ruthless because she was born in a time of rationing during World War II in England. And so as soon as I would knit something, if I did not get it perfect, she would either rip it out completely or rip out at least that row and make me do it again properly. It was many years later before I learned how to actually like go back and learn how to fix my knitting, because I was just so used to like ripping it all out and starting all over again, which is actually really sucky and a waste of effort, but definitely did not waste the yarn. And so the first thing that I ever knitted was a pale green scarf for one of my Barbie dolls, which I have no clue where that's at now. Probably in a landfill somewhere, sadly. So that's how I got into knitting. And I knitted all throughout those years. I knitted through high school. And I also knitted in college. And in college, I had this beautiful Monte Carlo. And one day, like, something was wrong with it. And so I took it into a shop near where I went to school. And a couple buildings over, there was a yarn store, Knit One Weave Two, that my best friend owned. And I was so excited because this was like good quality yarn. This was not like the crappy yarn that Walmart had, that I've been subjected to ever since moving from England to America in 1997. And yeah, so she and I became fast friends. I definitely became a staple at the yarn store on Thursday night knit nights. And yeah, it was like the community that I needed in addition to the community that I had at school. And such lovely, lovely people. And then in 2007, I started, I was doing an internship for my undergraduate program. It was my senior year. And I ended up in a couple of dicey situations where I didn't feel very safe. So I was like, I need to learn some self-defense. And so I had this amazing, before that I'd taken like some kickboxing classes on campus. But they were very choreographed, like jab, cross, something. And then there was a kick. But the instructor, I really liked her energy, so I found out that she also did self-defense lessons. So I signed up for like a 7-lesson package through her for self-defense. And that is what got me into martial arts, because truly into martial arts, because she taught me all the self-defense stuff pretty quickly. And then I still had a couple of like sessions paid for that were still left over. And so then she's like, well, would you like to learn some jujitsu? And I was like, jujitsu what? And so I was like, sure. So she showed me a little bit of jujitsu. She showed me a little bit of boxing, and I liked it. Like, I really liked it. So I think I signed up for like another 7 or 10 lessons with her. And then she got to the point, she's like, you know, you really need other training partners. So she introduced me to the War Room in Wood River, Illinois. And I was like, oh my God, like I loved it so much. Like honestly, like I skipped class someday just to keep training. So I worked a really full schedule. I worked full time. My undergrad, I worked full time. Obviously went to school, had my practicum, had an hour drive to work and back on the days that I did go to work, which was obviously a lot. And yeah, so it was a lot. So sometimes like I just wanted to keep training, and so sometimes I would like skip a class, or like I don't know what my dog's up to. But so yeah, moral of the story is I love trading. And then at some point I decided that I wanted to compete. I did some jiu-jitsu tournaments, and yeah, this like grew way beyond just wanting some self-defense classes. So I did some jiu-jitsu tournaments. There were some times where I was like the only female, and I'd have to like grapple like 17-year-old boys, and like that was awkward. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And amateur, and then graduated from college at some point in there, started my master's degree, kept training, kept fighting. I don't think I actually fought until I was in grad school. But then after grad school was over, I went into the Army, because that's what you do with a social work degree in a recession. Army National Guard. I did some Army combatives. I had my final amateur fight, and then I went pro. Won my pro fight as the armbar in the 3rd round against Erica Torres, Joe Daddy Stevenson's niece, which, like, I don't know, I'm definitely at the phase of life now where I say things and people are like, who? But that was pretty cool. And then I started getting strike force offers, and I got pregnant. And so my life path definitely changed. After my son was born, I tried training at a couple of different gyms in Chicago. It wasn't the best experience, and so I just kind of like put that on the shelf. Fast forward life a little bit more, 2016, I started training with this amazing woman called Sunshine at a different Muay Thai gym. I tried some other gyms out here in Arizona, like Power MMA. I don't remember where all I tried, and then I went to the MMA lab for a little bit. And there was like a sparring session where it's just supposed to be like punches and kicks, and I actually ended up getting kneed in the face. It looked like my nose exploded, and I deviated my septum. I sniffle up, and so I was like, oh my goodness, like I wasn't making very good money at all with my job at the time. So I was like, what if I had like really gotten hurt? Then what would I do? Like, oh. And so I put it again on the back burner, and it was just like, oh, this is probably just not for me. Like, it's not going to work out. But I'm pretty tenacious. If anybody knows anything about me, it's that I have a hard time giving up, letting go. And so, yeah, but I mean, I did let go of that for a while. I casually followed MMA for a while. I got into running. I got into biking. I mean, like I've been a runner since college, but not at the college level, but just casual, and also for training before. And so I kept competing in like 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, different things, a couple duathlons. And fast forward, I have another child, I have another marriage. And then something, I really started getting the itch again right when I turned 40. And so when I turned 40, I had planned to run a full marathon up in Washington State as a kind of like, I've ran a full marathon. But I had a bunch of like health issues that year. It turned out we had mold in the house. And so I ended up doing the ultra half marathon, which is like 14.6 miles. Dismal time, but it was a trail half marathon, so I give myself credit for that. But like running just wasn't doing it for me. And I was thinking more and more about jiu-jitsu again. And so I went to a gym here called, well, I actually waited until I weaned my daughter, because the thought of breastfeeding at the same time as grappling just seemed really uncomfortable to me. So I actually checked out another small gym nearby, and it was not my vibe at all. And then I went to Jay Page's, and that was in 2023. Yeah, that makes sense, because I was born in 83. And so I started training the 6 o'clock class, which I am not a 6 o'clock in the morning person. And yeah, so then I was a white belt with 2 stripes under Kyle Watson from the Hit Squad. He has his own gym now in St. Louis. Finish Hexy Puff. And so I got that on Valentine's Day in 2011, those two stripes, which was like super cool. I wish I still had the photo, but I don't, sadly. Supposed to like not fight or not grapple in a tournament if you fought pro until you're a blue belt, which I lived my whole life backwards. So the fact that I was, you know, fighting as a white belt is kind of amusing, but that's kind of how things were back then. And so, yeah, so I trained at Jay's. I still train at Jay's, and eventually got like my blue belt, and started thinking about things more and more. I started doing Muay Thai, and then at some point in there, I was kind of like talking to somebody about the itch, and it was like, oh, I want to fight again. And so that's what I'm pursuing right now. Last year I went to Thailand with a friend, my former Muay Thai coach, and I can't pronounce his last name very well, but his name is TJ. He fights out of the MMA lab now, and we went to Super Bond, and it was an amazing experience. And if you look at my other videos, you'll be able to see some of our adventures. And when we were in Thailand, it was all pretty tame. It was really focused around training, finding food, vegetarian food for him, and finding yarn for me. Thailand actually has a really awesome yarn scene, and it seems like they're more focused on crocheting than knitting. But yeah, so that was, I cast on too many stitches. But that was a super fun experience, and I wanted to go to Thailand before, but it was definitely not something I would have been able to afford in the 2010 era of my life. So I don't know, I definitely want to go back again when I'm done fighting. I mean, I don't think I'll ever stop training again, but I would love to go back for another Muay Thai camp when I am done like fighting MMA. I would like to get 2 more fights in. I know I'm definitely older than the average female fighter, but you know, I think from having stayed in shape for so long, not getting the damage that male fighters who are my age have, because I haven't consistently been striking or anything like that, or at least I wasn't until 2 years ago consistently striking. I think it's possible to get a couple more fights in, and then I'll definitely continue to work on jiu-jitsu. I'd love to coach other females and kids someday. I don't know. I feel like having a good coach and feeling supported, having a good gym environment can definitely make up for if you don't have a good like family network and support like that. So yeah, I'd like to help foster a positive gym environment. I've definitely had some positive gym experiences and some very negative gym experiences, but right now everything seems to be fairly positive, which is great. At least great for me compared to like some of the other like jiu-jitsu scandals that are happening right now and things coming to light. So I'm happy about that for myself, and would like to like nurture and foster that for other women and males in the future. So the intention of my channel is to kind of, which if anybody's watched the Winter Olympics this year, it's interesting to see how many Olympic snowboarders and skiers and other sports, how many athletes are also involved in the knitting community. I think Tom Daly really kind of like kicked the door in for that with him knitting in between like his diving comps. And so it's been super cool to see athletes knitting. And it's also been really interesting and fun at J Pages to see the number of women who are also involved in various fiber arts. Not to say that men aren't also involved in fiber arts, but I'm excited to make my channel kind of around mainly like knitting and training for me, what it's like to resume fighting again as a older, more mature fighter, what it's like to try and keep up with the youngins. Which also I don't understand how I'm 42 years old. Life and time is very strange. But so I want to focus on knitting and martial arts. I'm going to actually do some interviews with people to get some of their opinions on things. I definitely want to teach more people how to knit if there's an interest in that. I'm also going to do some different like sewing and crafting tutorials. I'm a big thrifter because I'm frugal. I eat cheap. And so there'll probably be some things about like my thrifting, how I cook healthy. at least what my interpretation of cooking healthy is. My dog, my children won't be featured in this. There may be like bits about things that I make for my children, but I'm not going to they won't be present in my blogging at all, because the world's scary and creepy. And yeah, so showing off projects, there will be a little bit, so I'm thinking some of the main formats the main sections that I'm probably going to do will include like a creating section, a training section, acquisitions. Is really common in crafting vlogs to show some of the things that have been purchased or acquired. And so I think that's going to be an interesting hybrid for me, because I do have somewhat of a sponsorship through RevGear. And so I think showing some of the things that I end up getting through them will be kind of cool, and showing off some of my some of my new things that I find to just do that. That was phrased really poorly. So I also want to show some of the things that I acquire to help with my crafting, things that I acquire to help with my training, and then also I do still bike ride, and so showing some of the acquisitions that I get for biking and things like that will be fun. I want to do like event recaps of like my own training events, or not training events, but like things that I compete in, things that I attend. And I thought it might be kind of cool to also have like a section of like upcoming fights and upcoming yarn store events. That was the word I was looking for, events. So yeah, again, my name is Beth. My fight name is Beth Revelations Revel, because when you fight me, you know the end is coming. And my knitting handle, because most of us knitters have knitting handles due to our social media and our original knitting social media of Ravelry. But so my knitting handle is Bugsy the Knitter. My granddad, who I mentioned at the beginning of this introduction, he nicknamed me Bugsy. Apparently when I was a baby, I had very big front teeth. That didn't change. I got new front teeth, obviously, but still big. And apparently they put me in like a bunny outfit of some kind, and he's like, oh, she looks like a little Bugsy rabbit. And so that's kind of stuck. Or at least that's how I identify myself in different like knitting vlogs and things like that, knitting communities. And so I like having that homage to my granddad, because again, without him I wouldn't be here, but also without his death back in 1993, I would not be, I mean, maybe I'd be a knitter, but I definitely wouldn't be the knitter that I am today. And so, yeah. I think that's pretty much it for the introduction section. I'm probably going to film this over the next couple of days. Maybe I'll get it all done in one swoop, but I'm not sure. Oh, the other thing, I saw this shirt on Tea Turtle, and it said Happy Knitting, and it was a bunny rabbit knitting. So as much as I'm trying not to purchase any brand new clothing this year, I saw that and I was like, I gotta have that. So yeah, so feel free to stick around for the rest of the vlog. And hopefully like, subscribe, do all those things, and just follow along on my journey. I'm planning on releasing on like a bi-weekly basis, and if I'm able to increase that at some point after I find out if that's sustainable, then I'll do so. But I'm trying to get better this year at not biting off more than what I can chew, because I'd rather under promise and over deliver, and I also don't want the algorithms to hate me. So yeah. See? Pixie Puffs.